Okay, stick around, folks, because we're going to have a great time today. Welcome to probably one of our first of the year of 2023 to 24. I'm Marsha Chan, and we have with us my co-coordinators. Please raise your hand and say hello, Patrick.
Hi, everyone.
That was short. And where are you, Patrick? Tell everybody where you are.
I currently live in Portland, Oregon, and I teach at Portland Community College and Portland State University.
Okay, and our cohort here, we got a fellow named Randy Reitmeyer. Say hello.
Hi, everybody. Happy Friday. I'm Randy Reitmeyer. I'm here in cloudy Santa Barbara, California.
Ooh. Okay, so I'm usually in Sunnyvale, California, but guess where I am today? Can anyone guess? It starts with A-R, and the next letter is K. So where would that be?
Arkansas.
That is so smart. That would be Ellen Lang, I bet, right?
Yep.
And where are you, Ellen?
I'm right here in Davis, California.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I am here. I came to CATESOL, which happened in Rogers, Arkansas, which is also the home of my daughter and her family. So guess what? The bonus is to see my grandchildren. Well, you're not here for that. You are here to listen to Dr. Lara Wallace and Dr. Edna Lima, because they're going to answer this question. You know, like we want to know about ChatGPT and how it relates to teaching and learning of pronunciation. And so they're going to tell us some things that it can do and maybe some things that human beings might be better at doing. All right. So before we let them speak, we want to remind everyone here that we have some really cool things that you can access no matter where you are and what time of day or night it is. One of them is our top Padlet. And you can see maybe, Pat or Randy, you can throw that into the chat box in case people want to click on the link that goes to the tinyurl.com/CATESOL-top-Padlet. So this is our Padlet. It tells you how long we've been around. Okay, somebody knows how long we've been around? What is this? Our anniversary of the what year? Somebody will know this, right? Okay, the number of fingers I have on my hands. How many is that?
10.
10, right. So we have been in existence for 10 years, right? And some of you are members and some of you are non-members, as I understand. Some of you who are non-members may wish to become members because guess what? It's really inexpensive. Only $30 will get you all of these really great member benefits. Well, that was a really quick one. It was a 20-second version. I have a longer version, which I will throw in the chat later on so you can see why you should join. You paid $5 for today, and if you get yourself 6 of those $5, you can be a member and get all of the member benefits of CATESOL. CATESOL is one of the earliest affiliates of International TESOL, and I'll say one of the best. Okay, we don't need to see that again. I'm sorry. Let's go on to our next slide, which will take us to some text, but you know, we don't need to do that part. Now, some of you are kind of like inundated with messages on your email, and you would like to know just what CATESOL Talk is doing. So if you join our topic e-list, you won't miss an event. It will only be about stuff that we have going on here. So if you have not yet joined up to receive the email updates from us, Patrick, why don't you throw that into the chat? And those of you who have not entered your name in the hat yet, put it there and you will get a little message that says what our next event is. Okay, now I think it's time to give it up to our guest presenters, Lara and Edna, whom I know from PSLLT, which you all know from last week's session from John Levis. What does it stand for? The easy one is the first one. What's the letter P stand for?
Pronunciation.
Pronunciation, right. And what else does the rest of it stand for? Pronunciation in. Don't be shy.
Second language.
Second language, learning and teaching. Okay, and ESL is one aspect of that. We got a lot of languages that we talk about, listen to, and hear about when we're at PSLLT. And in our particular case, as a talk, we're interested in, especially in the learning of English. So give it over to Edna and Lara.
Thank you very much, Marsha. It's lovely to be here. Thank you for the opportunity. And it's great to see everybody here with us. So I am Lara Wallace, and this is
Edna Lima. Hey,
excellent.
look at me at Ohio University. See Ohio University in the background? Yeah.
It's springtime eternally.
No, wrong picture. It's dark and rainy today, you guys. So I didn't want to put that picture there, not to make anybody gloomy.
Exactly. Well, great. So we are really happy to be talking with you about a topic that we started exploring recently. And of course, that is ChatGPT. How many of you, if you could use the react button, give a thumbs up if you have tried it? I want to see where we are with this. All right. So some people have tried it. And how do you feel about it so far? Whether you've tried it or not, use the react button. How do you feel about it? Do we have a symbol for apprehension? Yeah, there we go. Mark's got that. Awesome. Ide loves it. Excellent. Yeah, Christina, that face is perfect for it. That's great. Good. Well, and yeah, scary. A lot of people think it's scary. And that was one of the reasons why we decided to do this. So we were talking about what we wanted to present at PSLLT, early spring, the actual spring, not the one that I just made up with eternal spring. That's not true here in Athens.
No.
But we were talking about what are the current issues of the day, and ChatGPT was everywhere. It still is. And we decided, well, what might people really be interested in? And the conversation we kept going back to was, oh my gosh, this thing can do so many things. Will it take our jobs? Yeah, I see you nodding there. Yeah, so Yvonne, you know what I'm talking about. Yes, so we wondered that. So we thought, well, let's sit down and really play around with ChatGPT, see what we can find out about whether it might do that. And more importantly, wow, there are some really cool things we can do with it that we can use. So that's what we're hoping to share with you today. So I'm going to be kind of laying the foundations here, and Edna she might jump in and add some things here and there, but she's going to show you then how it's used. And if we have time at the end, I thought we might do a little demonstration of ChatGPT. How does that sound? Possible demonstration? Chaos, let chaos reign. Excellent. All right, we will do that. So let's have a look. I will share my screen in just a moment here. Whoops. I'm managing multiple devices right now. All right, here we go. All right. So let's have a look now at what pronunciation teachers can do that ChatGPT cannot do. And important in this, I want to just get your first impressions. What do you think of when you think of artificial intelligence, broadly speaking? Any ideas? Please share with me in the chat. Edna, if you want to read any of I can't see what's going on in the chat.
Data, someone says.
Okay, artificial.
Ellen says data.
Data, good.
Stupid intelligence for now, powerful, robots taking over the world. That's
there it is.
Mark,
Knew it.
Mark brought it.
I had a feeling. Thank you. Yeah. So you can sense the excuse me, the apprehension and this idea. I think a lot of us, when we think of artificial intelligence, it's the robots taking over the world. Those of us who grew up in a certain time period remember the Terminator series. It's not like that. We're not dealing with that kind of artificial intelligence. We're dealing with one that we can actually work with, and it will be helpful. Specifically, we are going to be talking about using artificial intelligence for good. Now, the reason why we're focusing specifically on ChatGPT is because this one is the most famous. So I think all of you have probably heard of ChatGPT by OpenAI. It's widely available, and it works with text. There are many versions of it. So 3.5 is the one that I've been playing around with the most. 4 came out a few months ago, several months ago. Yeah, but there were previous versions that led up to it. And basically, ChatGPT is pre-trained on a family of large language models. So in other words, it's got a lot of text-based data that it has learned. And so generative pre-trained, the GPT part, refers to it being trained in part on how to predict what comes next in a text. Now, throughout this, I want you to keep in mind that it's easy for me to say, and we are doing pronunciation. Artificial intelligence is only as good as the data on which it is trained. So let's keep that in mind as we go through this. Now, ChatGPT is a system that is made available on OpenAI, and it can follow complex instructions in natural language and solve difficult problems. So what that means is we can talk to it, we can converse with it differently than we have in the past when we are trying to find information. So in January 2023, that's when it just burst onto the scene, I think. We went from November last year. How many of you actually heard of ChatGPT, had heard of ChatGPT in November last year? Okay, so Randy, on it. Good. But most of us, we hadn't, right? And then all of a sudden it was everywhere. In fact, ChatGPT is the fastest growing consumer app in history, with 1 million users taking on this app 5 days after it launched last November. And then 2 months after it launched, 100 million users. I mean, that's astounding. It's absolutely astounding to me. So why is the question here? Why do we use it? Well, unlike Google or Ecosia or any of Bing, any of the search engines we usually use to answer our questions, ChatGPT allows us to refine what we're talking about. It remembers, right? So when we type something into Google or Ecosia, it's a one-off search. If we don't type in the right prompt, we have to completely change it, starting over every time. Frustrating, right? So ChatGPT remembers what you've prompted. And so what that means is you can refine your prompts to clarify, specify, and shift topics. You can change the topic. You can use it conversationally. You don't need to know any tricks like Boolean operators, right? You don't need to know anything about quotation marks. You just tell it what you want and converse with it. We'll show you how that works in a bit. So when it doesn't do what you want, you don't have to start over. You just tell it. You say, no, that's not what I mean. You know, instead, could you do this? Or instead, please create whatever, and it will do that. All right, I love it personally for brainstorming. I find it a really useful tool for brainstorming different ideas. So just as an example, I've been working with sustainability professionals to help them speak English confidently and effectively. And you might think sustainability is really niched, it's really specific. Guess what? It's not. We have all kinds of different areas, renewables, ESG, oh my gosh, like the list goes on. There's a whole alphabet soup. And I don't know everything about everything. Do you? No? Yeah, me either. So what I do is if I want to create a pronunciation activity and I want to use certain words maybe words with specific stress patterns or a specific peak vowel sound, for example, then what I do is I give ChatGPT that list of words and say, please create a fill in the blank activity using these words, set it at B2 level for English language learners, and use sentences in the context of renewable energy. And it'll come up with these ideas. I don't just copy paste them. I take them from there and say, oh, well, tell me what you mean more by number 2, or could you shift it so that, so that's how it's different from Google. You can keep working with it to refine and do more and to brainstorm and really to create. That's the most astounding thing that you can do. And I really believe that we are in this next technological leap in how we do things in the world. This is a huge revolution. So I'm excited that we're going to share with you today. So
just to
please, yeah.
jumping in for a second, Cindy is asking us about prompts. Cindy, we are going to provide an example later on for you guys to see what we're talking about. And also it's important to remember that ChatGPT saves the entire conversation, right? So, and you can even share it as a PDF document with anybody, essentially, even people who don't use it. One thing we have to remember is that it doesn't pick up, if you stop, you come back a week later, it doesn't remember the conversation. So you have to trigger it to kind of remember, maybe, you know, copy and paste again the prompt, but you can converse with it for a year within that same conversation and have everything saved there. So an example of prompt coming soon, Cindy.
Yes, thank you very much. Good, yeah, we will get to it. And so this brings us to the question of, okay, we're here as teachers to think about ChatGPT. So are your students using ChatGPT? Because I bet they are. So whether they're using them in ways you would like for them to use it or not, you know, it is out there. People are using it. So let's find out what we can do to have it work for us. Now, ChatGPT 3.5 is widely available, not just in California, Oregon, Arkansas, Ohio, right? We're talking, it's in many different countries around the world. You can look up on OpenAI's website where it is available if you're teaching internationally, for example. But it's free. You can download it to your phone. You can use it on your desktop. And that's one of the perks. It's so versatile and widely available. It answers your questions. It recommends resources to you. So if you ask it for resources on, you know, how to pronounce the sh sound versus the ch sound, if you say sh and ch, it can understand that text and it finds things out there for you. I've had it suggest Rachel's English to me as a resource. I've had it suggest Pronunciation, you know, so it is good at recommending resources. You as the teacher need to evaluate the resources though. It can write papers. We've all seen, and I think most of us fear that. It edits papers. It corrects your grammar. This is something that is really, really useful for when you don't really have time to do all of the correction, but maybe your students need to know something, so you can do that. I've had a friend who uses it for that all the time. It offers word choice suggestions. It can identify, now this is where it gets really interesting. If you prompt it with an argument and you say, okay, this is like if you're debating it, for example, you can practice debating it. And you could say, okay, find a weakness in my argument about why, whatever situation. It can do that pretty well in some cases. It's really good at summarizing information. It can create activities for you. That's probably how I use it the most. And I explained to you already about how I get it to create fill in the blank activities, for example. And the way, and you can also have kind of a dialogue with it. Of course, because it's text-based, it's going to be a written dialogue, but we'll show you how to get around that a little bit soon. So it's really useful. But going back to the topic of this presentation, but is it going to take our jobs, right? Can it help with speaking and pronunciation? That is what we are going to answer for you. So when we first started looking into this, one of the reasons why it caught my eye was because I will tell you this, in my YouTube feed, there was a guy who had a video, and I think the title was something like how ChatGPT just killed language teaching or something like that. Jerry Register. So anyway, what I was doing was I was watching to see, well, what is he doing with this? And he was doing some really cool stuff. And then I started talking with other friends. I started trying it out. I'm in a lot of different online communities. We're all talking about ChatGPT. How can we use ChatGPT for teaching? How can we use it to create content? Things like that. But the way that language learners have been using it is as a conversation partner, which if you want your students to practice speaking and they have limits to their time, like we all do, it's available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what you can do with that, and it's especially easy if you have the app on your phone, you can use voice to text to practice speaking. So, and actually I find it to be much better at understanding than Siri on an iPhone, for example. It actually understands quite well. And yeah, so you can use it to practice voice to text. That's how I've seen other learners use it. You can use it as a patient teacher who answers all of your questions. One person I was talking with specifically, David Sams, he was talking about how he would use it. He's learning Spanish though, not English. And he would engage it in dialogue. He would do role plays with it. And then he would stop and say, okay, now I'd like for you to explain to me why we use this verb here and that verb there. Or can you give me 5 synonyms for this word? Or how would I say this word in this country? Right? And so you can picture this when we're in the classroom, we can't take all of those questions, right? And we want our students to be curious. We want our students to ask questions. And ChatGPT is a great place for your students to get some answers. It can correct grammar, it can correct vocab. If you want some more ideas about how it's used, especially how you can install different plugins to convert its text to speech so they can practice listening, you can check out some of his videos. So I do have to share a note of caution with you though. Again, it is only as good as the data sets it learned. Now, GPT 3.5 was trained on data before 2021.
By September 21.
Yeah. And
by September 21. Yeah, nothing after that. Right.
So what has it missed? A lot of things have happened in the world since then. Yeah. So just know that it's not going to help with current events. So it also, because of the text-based nature, it still hasn't figured out how to, I mean, it can't identify pronunciation errors because it can't hear you, and it also doesn't have that capacity, right? It can't hear you. So it's not going to identify pronunciation issues. It's because it can't do that. It's definitely not going to correct any pronunciation errors. And oh my gosh, this one, Edna and I have had a lot of fun trying to get it to figure out minimal pairs, because you'd think with all of the data out there, it should be able to come up with lists of minimal pairs. It's terrible at them. So again, minimal pairs, if you're not sure what those are 2 words that differ with only one sound. For example, meet, met, those are different, right? It's terrible. And when you put it in the one time, what were some of the words it was giving you?
Well, interesting. At first, it got different sounds. So one word with 2 different sounds. So it was comparing, not directly minimal pairs. But I kept talking to it and explaining, no, you're not correct. Minimal pairs and then it apologizes to you, and then it resets its mindset. And at some point, it does give you pairs that have a difference in sound. The problem is it creates words that don't exist. Even though you keep telling it that word doesn't, it keeps trying to give you lists and lists, and there's always a word in there that doesn't exist. And interestingly enough, I have the paid version for research purposes. And I was like, let's see if the paid version is better. No, same thing. So be very careful, because it creates words that don't exist. So the thing about ChatGPT is the prompting. It's the secret behind how successful it is. So sometimes people expect to ask a question that's very vague and very general, and hope ChatGPT will answer. No, the prompt. That's why we even have prompt engineering now as a field. So you have to keep talking to it, and then it apologizes and it resets its course. But minimal pairs, I still have to play more with it to figure out why it keeps giving me words that don't exist. But it was fun playing with it.
Yeah, it is fun. And I feel like if it were trained on a dictionary that had transcriptions, it should be able to figure that out when you have two different symbols, right? But oh well. Anyway, that's not our problem, and it helps us to maintain our position of importance. So it also did not really, it's not good at dividing phrases into thought groups unless you are very specific. Like Edna said, she was trying to train it. She kept asking questions. Same thing with the thought groups. You have to be really specific.
And it worked for the thought groups. Once I told the system what it was, sorry, Lara. I just wanted to say that it did give me thought groups where Americans would pause. And obviously you have to take rate into consideration. And some Americans pause more because they speak more slowly. Some pause less because they speak faster. So it got that right, but prompting once again. But I was happy when I reached, okay, it got the idea and now it can do it. So it's very helpful for teachers.
Yeah, that's good. So that's the thing. The teacher is central, because what will happen is when you do put in a prompt, what it will give you, it presents as if it is the truth, right? So it really, this is called hallucination, right? It will present it to you convincingly in a way that seems fine. But at the end, they've started adding some disclaimers. So that's good, but you still need to really critically evaluate this. So some best practices, like Edna mentioned, engineer your prompts specifically. You need to learn how to do that. That's not the purpose of this presentation, so we're not going to get very far into it, but we will show you an example. Use your knowledge to check its responses, because it does not know everything. So you as the teacher are very important. And you as the teacher need to think critically to decide what to use that it gives you and what to omit or change. Now, your students, if you want to use this with your students, I would encourage you to find ways to help them to use it for learning. We'll be sharing a few of those ways today. We're not talking about task completion, writing papers, none of that, right? We're talking about how to use it for learning. Students also need to be very well aware that ChatGPT can give them incorrect answers. And really, they need to understand, and you can help them with this, to know when it's best to ask the teacher and when it's best to ask ChatGPT about something. So if you follow these, that's going to help you to be able to use it for good. And again, you are at the center of it. You as the expert, you're the one in charge. So enter your prompts, it will answer, interpret the answers. Think about the accuracy and the event and the relevance. You are going to do that. And then you can refine your query that way. And you just kind of keep going around. You can even ask ChatGPT to fact check itself. And it can do that for things. So see how it works, but you are the one responsible for how well it works. And if you don't like how it works, don't use it. It's very simple. So let's see here. So how teachers can use it is basically, if you prompt it correctly, you can have it help you write lesson plans. You can create speaking, grammar, and vocabulary activities. You can ask it to use the communicative framework with that, actually. You can ask it to help you write needs analyses, to find resources, give feedback on grammar, vocab, and content. My favorite, you can help use it to create rubrics for feedback. This is something I've been doing with the international teaching assistants who I've been working with, because we were doing micro teaching demonstrations, and each one of those ITAs had their own communication goals because we had been working on specific areas that they need. So one person needs prominence, another person needs to use signposts, another person needs to use key choice to be able to easily demonstrate when we're changing the topic, right? And so what I did was I taught them how to use it to create a rubric for feedback using a very specific prompt, which I think we have coming up. But will ChatGPT take our jobs? We can use it for all kinds of things. I think you guys already can answer this based on what I've shared with you. Just, what do you think? Thumbs up? Is it not going to take our jobs, or thumbs down? Exactly. It's not going to take our jobs. So with that, Edna is going to tell you more.
Yeah, Lara can rest her voice a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm going to go and shut this door over here in a minute as soon as I can. Sorry.
So like Lara was saying, it gives limited guidance. The guidance gets way better if you know how to prompt it and ask it the right questions. So they talk about ChatGPT hallucinating. And once again, the data it trained on was up to September 2021. So if you ask it what's going on with the war in Russia and Ukraine, it tells you, I'm sorry, I don't have that data. So it tells you exactly what it can and cannot do. So that's a good thing. It has warnings. I appreciate that a lot. Even when it gives you information, it gives you a little, disclaimer, right? While you can do this, I can do this for you. Remember, you have to do X. So it even tells you where it's limited, right? So you can ask it to apply certain frameworks. So if you are specific, if you know exactly what you're looking for, you can tell it, use the communicative framework for teaching English pronunciation by Marsha et al. 2010. So it can actually give you suggestions with that. It can share knowledge about how to teach certain topics, So imagine a physicist trying to teach certain topics. It can help them, but it can also help us because it has good descriptions on how to teach segmentals and suprasegmentals. It also can suggest types of activities and assessments. So it can create pretty much anything for you. Obviously, you're going to have to double check everything because you are the expert. But, I teach, I'm a teacher trainer, so I have master students who are becoming teachers. And sometimes they suffer trying to figure out a way, to create activities or a lesson plan, which is part of a class they're taking. ChatGPT can be excellent to help you come up with ideas. What is it that I can do? What kind of lessons can I develop? So it can even help you select song lyrics and web resources. It even tells you about Rachel's English and pronunciation.com. So you have a lot of options, especially with brainstorming, right? So Lara says it's an A+ partner for brainstorming. She uses that a lot, that feature. So you can ask it to help you brainstorm video lessons on a topic, lesson plans for learners of certain levels. So think of the CEFR scale. You are not even certain about what A2 can do. ChatGPT can answer that question for you, right? Activities to fit specific topics. So you're dealing with intonation, for example, very complex topic. Are you doing prominence? Are you doing final intonation? It can help generate activities for you to work on that. Tongue twisters for certain sounds, word lists for specific context, stories with certain meanings, role play scenarios for specific number of students. So you want 4 students to play a role play, it will generate a role play for you with 4 players in there. Interactive drills, even drills, right? Drills are essential in pronunciation. We know that. So sometimes we need the old drills for a certain activity we're practicing, right? Like the distinction between sh and cha. Sentences that target specific pronunciation challenges and vocabulary. It can also gather resources for you, like I said, song lyrics and a variety of styles of practice, whatever it is that you want to do. So it can help you come up with fun activities that can engage and motivate our learners. As a content creation partner, it can also do a variety of things. Lara is clicking over there. I'm talking here, so I apologize if we have a delay on the PowerPoint. So after brainstorming, you can ask it to collaborate with you to create custom exercises for your class. It can generate a variety of things, activities, handouts, even handouts, dialogues, role play cards, tables. It even generates beautifully looking tables. Assessment and rubrics. And we are going to focus on assessments today because for the example, because rubrics are terrifying for everybody, right? Sometimes you're like, what is it that I have to assess? How many items do I include in there? Do I have 3 categories, 4 categories? So if you know exactly what the assignment is and the key guideline points, it can create a rubric for you. So please click, Lara. Let's show them an example of a prompt. So this is a prompt that is telling ChatGPT exactly what you need. So you want a rubric that is in table format for micro teaching demonstrations. You want to specify the columns, what you want there. So we have clear pronunciation, speaking in an effective rate, using vocal variety for clear expression, and even using high key to start new topics. And then in column 2, you want needs improvement, column 3, satisfactory, and column 4, you want outstanding with a description for each criterion. So 2 tips here for engineering your prompt. You can copy it and paste this into ChatGPT and just change minor parts of it, right? So you can customize your prompt there. So you can even specify the table format that you want and define each column. So we entered that, right? We knew what we were doing, and this is what it gave us there. The rubric that we would take how long to create on our own, I don't know how fast you guys are, but I would take, I don't know, 2 hours maybe, if it's from scratch. But you have a table that you can copy and paste into Microsoft Word and just adjust minor details. So this is what we got with that prompt. No changes in there. Isn't that fascinating? So it even has the criteria in bold along with the 3 types of assessment you have. So Lara, would you please, yeah, and click one more time, please. So Lara created guidelines for her ITA students to use ChatGPT. And then she came up with these 5 points. And with her instructions, her students, her ITA students, international teaching assistants, can actually create their own rubrics to use in their own classes, chemistry, physics, biology, whatever fields of study we are talking about. Would you like to emphasize anything here, Lara?
Yeah, and it worked really well, but what I made sure to do with the ITAs was we met individually. Well, actually, first I had them do this in a group in breakout rooms, try it out, and then I met them individually to go over what they came up with ChatGPT so that we could make sure that it was measuring and it gave the right feedback. Because you notice the needs improvement, satisfactory, outstanding, it did a really good job for the most part, but it didn't always get it right. For example, you see in the highlighted part where it says engaging the class with SAW, that's signal, ask, wait. Because we didn't say signal, ask, wait, it didn't know what it was. So we went back and we changed it. But yeah, as long as you have guidelines in place, it's really, really helpful. Saves tons of time.
Okay. So teachers as prompt engineers, that's the thing. There was a full conference the other day about teachers, prompt engineering for teachers. An entire conference, it was a day long. I was in Mexico doing something else, so I had to miss the conference. But they made all of the videos available. So we don't need to pay to have better training. There's a lot of opportunities out there for engineering workshops and things for free, because it is essentially the key thing here we are talking about. It's how you ask your question in order for you to get the best result. So you can, with specific prompting, you can work with it to design controlled practice activities for the learner's communicative level. So we're talking CFR, specific topics. The length of the lesson, if you tell it, my lesson should be 25 minutes, it's going to calculate what it needs to include in there. Number of students, I have 40 students versus I have 10, right? So you can use your expert knowledge to identify any errors in its examples, since it learned on text and might hallucinate. So someone mentioned cheating here in the chat when we were talking about fears that we have. If students cheat and they don't know what you're doing, you're going to catch them because they think they can simply give a command, copy and paste, and give it to you. You will notice that some things are not in the right place. Now, the whole cheating thing, sure, we have that concern, and universities are now even considering policies to put in place because of that. I have openly discussed it with my students, and they have permission to use it for proofreading, punctuation, formatting issues, and they have to submit a copy of their conversation with the AI so that I can see exactly what happened there. So I'm trying to work hard to help them use ChatGPT for learning, to improve their own knowledge as opposed to cheating with it, right? So for your students, ChatGPT can do a lot. It's important for you to train them how to use it, explain to them what they can do with it. So if we train them properly, positively, maybe they will not use it for cheating. Maybe they will use it for doing better, for improving their abilities, right? So train them also how to use the voice to text feature so that they can actually do listening and speaking exercises. Read words and phrases. Be a partner in a role play. So with the text-to-speech plugin, we can do all of that. Specify the tone and who it is in a role play. Engage in debates. You can debate with it, like Lara was saying before. Lara? Ask for feedback on grammar and vocabulary use. I'm doing that for academic writing and publication. Ask for synonyms. get it to paraphrase or explain things differently, right? So that's very important in academic writing. Yvonne mentioned that she teaches academic writing, so that is something great to help your students understand how they can say, you know, the same thing a couple of times, which is key thing in academic writing. So Lara was talking, we started this with the presentation for PSLLT this year. And I was like, okay, I was playing with it to figure out, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do intonation? Can you do thought groups? And then I decided to simply ask it, what is it that I can do as a human teacher of American English that you cannot do? And it answered my question itself. And it told me that it has 8 problems that we can address that it cannot. So it pointed out personalized feedback, real-time assessment, emotional intelligence, nonverbal cues, adaptability, conversation practice, cultural context, motivation and encouragement. And then again, it gives you that warning I was talking about. If it responds to you properly, it still gives you that little warning. Hey, I have a limitation here. But when I asked it that question and then it gave me that answer, I was so excited because it pretty much told me you have nothing to worry about. So when people saw these things on the poster at PSLLT, you could see the relief in their face, and they were surprised to see that the machine told me that it couldn't do certain things. And good news is I have played with 4.0 and asked the same question. And even though it's a little bit more elaborated with the points and how it phrases it, it still shows me a list of about 8 to 10 issues that it would have with replacing us as pronunciation teachers. So with that in mind, should we be worried about it? I don't think so. Should we use it for teaching? Yes, definitely, because it saves time, lots of time. Once you get used to playing with it and prompting it, you can do things faster. You wouldn't believe the kinds of things you can come up with. However, we have to be careful. We need to have teachers' discernment there because it might give you facts that are not accurate. So you're going to have to proofread, take a look, and adapt. But it can definitely do a lot for us. Next. Okay. So, Lara, do we have a little time for the demonstration? Marsha, Lara can show us how to do it.
Absolutely. Please. Let's try it out.
Great, thank you. So a couple of pointers when you are designing your prompts, as you're talking, in other words, when you're talking with ChatGPT, what you want to do is make sure that you clearly define the task, and a magical phrase you can use with that is tell it, I need to make a lesson plan. I need to make a worksheet. Now, there's another magical phrase you can use. It's called act as. So you could tell it, for example, act as a teacher, an ESL teacher with 20 years of experience in teaching students from around the world, right? And it actually will help to narrow how it tells you its responses. Also, make sure you clarify, tell it if anything is unclear, please ask me questions. You can literally type this and it will come back and ask you questions. And that's one of the ways that we get better, more accurate results from it when you tell it to ask you questions. As well, you can adjust for specificity by using the word now. So let's say you gave it a prompt, you can say, okay, now give me 10 examples. Now adjust this activity for a student of C1 level. Now make this into an in-person lesson. Now use a more friendly tone with your examples, or now make a table for me, or make a handout. And it does it. Okay, so those are some of the things to keep in mind. I'm going to switch screens here so I can share with you ChatGPT. Let's see, before we do a demo, are there, well, okay, this is going to be a group kind of activity with this demonstration. And here we go. So what I'd like is to be able to have you guys unmute your microphone. Maybe if Marsha or Edna or any of the co-hosts, Randy, Patrick, if you guys want to call on people or if you want to suggest things, that would be good. Because we are going to come up with a context ourselves. It is Friday in Ohio. It is nearly 4 o'clock. It's the end of a week.
Rainy, dark.
Rainy. So, and it'll be
Great for watching a movie. Yeah.
yeah. So it'll be great to have your participation with this. So this is ChatGPT. You can see I've been using it a little bit. It's interesting. On my phone, it has separate conversations. But anyway. All right. So what would we like to have ChatGPT do for us? What would you like it to do? I'm going to let one of the co-hosts let me know what they see in the chat. Ask the Oracle. No, I'm just kidding.
I can go ahead.
Please.
So this is something that I've actually been looking into recently with mixed results. First
Great.
ChatGPT, but I want my students to practice the pronunciation of common two-syllable words with the stress on, for instance, the exceptions to the rule that verbs are mostly stressed on the second syllable. So words like follow, borrow, offer, visit.
Okay. So what kind of, all right. So what comes to mind for me is this. So please suggest a few activities that I can use with my, what kinds of students? ESL, I assume.
I would say A2.
Okay, with my A2 university students in an intensive English program.
It's community college.
Ah, okay, in a community college. This might be too much information for it, but we'll just see what happens. Few activities I can use with my A2 university students in a community college for learning the pronunciation of two-syllable verbs like follow, borrow. What was the other one?
Visit, maybe travel,
Travel.
happen.
All right. So I don't want to get too far into the weeds with seeing if it can identify where the stress is, because I can tell you right now, you've already experienced it. It's not going to help very much with that. So if you are fine with it, I'd love to be able to demonstrate how it can help us brainstorm activities and a lesson plan.
Fantastic, yeah.
Okay. So let's look and see what it comes up with. Oh, I forgot about tic-tac-toe. So it tells us, yeah, we could do a word stress exercise, and it shows you how to do that on the board. It shows
Tic-tac-toe.
That's an interesting idea. Can show you a pronunciation relay. That's a lot of fun if your students can get up and move out of their desks. Verb charades. Oh, Marsha, I can totally see you doing that. That would be a great Marsha Chan activity.
The pronunciation doctor.
Yes. Song lyrics, pronunciation, storytelling. So you have those. So maybe, so what we can do next is, let's say there are let's say we want to make a lesson plan. Which of these exercises do you want it to feature? Because it probably, you won't have time for it to do all of these.
Laura, Cindy is suggesting we create a activity with
Okay.
role play.
Role play.
Yeah, okay, so let's see. So it doesn't really have a role play, but what we can do is say, for example, I always like to give it feedback. So these are great activities to keep students engaged. What would you suggest for a role play using those same words to practice word stress? Ooh, travel agency simulation
Mm.
to practice. All right, so it gives you the objective, the instructions, divide the class into pairs or small groups. You've got a travel agent, you've got a customer. The scenario is that they will act out a scene in a travel agency. You encourage them to stress those syllables. For example, the customer might say, I want to borrow some information about trips to Europe. Okay, so this is where, as a teacher, I might go in and say, I want to borrow your tablet to look at the this information, right? Sure, I can help you visit different countries. So you see, it came up with the context right there for us. It saved us
Even the lesson objective,
yeah.
which is, I mean, hard for us sometimes to come up with. It
Mhm.
gives you even the lesson objective, which is amazing if you think about it.
So what would you like to have it do next? Because we're not done yet. I mean, you could be done. This is a great start, but I know as teachers, we would want to tweak different things. Let's see. Do we have anything in the chat coming in? Any requests?
What if you decided that you and your partner needed to refine this and present it in front of the class? Would that be something
Yeah.
to do?
Please add to these directions yeah.
See, it's under
Step.
the word guidelines, so would it be there?
What was that?
I'm just looking at it, number 4 says guidelines. Oh, no, that's to the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so I said, please add to these directions a step for presenting it in front of the class after practicing. So you can see that it gives you pretty much the same thing, but then we have presentation.
There we go.
Right here. And then feedback and discussion. Switch roles, repeat, wrap up.
What about if you wanted to add a rubric?
Oh, yeah. All right. So please create a rubric to evaluate the students' performance. Use a table format. Column 1 will be the criteria as follows: word stress, placement, number of syllables. I don't know, what else do we want to say?
Prosody? Is that too hard?
Prosody. Let's find out what it says. All right, column 2 is needs improvement. God, I'm having a fun time spelling right now.
Oh, do they correct spelling when you make mistakes in spelling?
Oh yeah. Thankfully, we have something coming out. All right, column 3 is satisfactory. Of course, you can change these. Column 4 is outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's see.
Okay.
Absolutely. Here's a rubric table.
Look at that. Look at that. Just bing, 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 bing. It's so fast.
Fast. Lara, Cindy
Yes.
was talking about asking if we could create a peer feedback form to use after the
Why,
role
yes. Now create a peer feedback form for students
How fast?
to
Oh,
use.
Fast, fast, fast.
wow.
This should be something I can copy paste into a Word document.
Aren't all of them like that? Copy pastable?
Yeah,
Yeah, I will tell you, so there are different AIs out there. It's not just ChatGPT. There's something called Bard, and it's a Google AI, and it's compatible with Google Docs and Sheets and all of that.
Mm.
This one, you might have to tweak the formatting once you do copy it and paste it. Look at
so
that.
feedback.
So
so you didn't ask it to put it in the table, and then it didn't.
exactly. So
You
what do we
can
say?
go back now and ask it, please put it in a table.
Oh,
That's
well,
what I,
What about,
Yep.
what about an Likert schedule? Because it has 1 through 5 sort of a thing.
Ooh,
We do
don't
that
do it.
for, for a change of.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't think this is going to be specific enough what I said, but let's find out what it said. Because I said, now make the peer feedback form into a Likert scale. I think we would have to say it differently, but what does it say?
It does.
Yeah.
Can you please redo that and ask it to put it in the table?
Yeah.
I want to see how it's going to do the Likert scale on the table there. I mean, like we said before, you can keep specifying and changing things, and we can have a dialogue all day long with it. There you are.
Nice. That's great.
That's great, because then there's no 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would have to ask it for the range, Lara.
Ask it for the range.
Yeah, maybe put the scale from 1 to 5 as a
Like make as many columns as necessary to make a Likert scale from 1 to 5.
Mm-hmm.
It never, Yvonne says it never, all capitals gets tired.
Yeah.
Except we do.
Yeah, so it doesn't.
It doesn't. So
Oh,
we have
man.
an ally there. What happened?
Okay, so I think my prompt was not good there. I said, instead of 1 column for ratings, please create 1 column per rating. And the Likert, that didn't work. So we can go back and we can ask it to do things, or we could just say, you know what, good enough. I can do that on my own.
Right.
And then we copy paste. So you can see this is a really powerful tool that can help you to save time, can help you brainstorm. It can help you with all kinds of things. And you are the one who is ultimately in control. And yeah, so it requires your personal
Touch.
expertise.
Mhm.
So
I've noticed that it helps a lot when you put an example in.
yes.
So when I got it to give me the correct thought groups, I gave it 3 sentences of the text that I had fed it, and I said, here's an example. And then you put the slashes in there.
Beautiful.
And then it spits it back the way it is with the pauses in the right place.
Yeah.
So it's all about that, refining that question.
You can
And
start.
giving examples. That would be very helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank you all very much. I think
Thank you so much
brings-
joining us here on a Friday.
Mhm.
Thank you.
We hope that we were able to give you something useful and to help change your feelings from fear and apprehension to that of, oh, this could
Ooh,
be
this is going to
useful.
help me
I could
out.
use this.
Ah,
This might be good. How are you feeling now? If you've improved, please show us in your reactions. Yeah. If you're still shocked in a bad way, shocked face. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you all so much. It's been a
Awesome.
pleasure.
It's
Less intimidated by it. Good, Fatima. Fatima is less intimidated by it.
So
Excellent.
glad to hear that.
I'm just reading the chat there.
Yeah, that's great. I can
Sorry
find
if we missed any of your comments, you guys, because it was hard to keep the chat and be looking at the slides and presenting, you are welcome to email either of us, and we'll be happy to answer your questions.
And please feel free to connect on
I'm gonna stop
LinkedIn.
Recording now.
Have fun, Cindy.
And we'll say goodbye to all of our wonderful participants. And we'd like to, but before we say goodbye, let me tell you what's coming next. Do you want to know what we're doing next? Raise your hand.
Yes.
Of course,
We're
of
doing
course.
Okay, so we're gonna have a talk by D. Liu, Dr. D. Liu, on December 8th at noon. It's a Friday, as usual, but we didn't want to do it. Usually we do things later in the month, but because of the Christmas holidays, we decided to do it earlier. So I hope you are available and will mark your calendars with the pencil at least, but we will get that out. I believe it's already on the CATESOL calendar. Check it out. But also remember to join the e-list that probably Patrick can put in the chat one more time, just in case those who came late didn't get it. And you will get an email to remind you and let you know where to sign up. Okay, thanks so much. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.